The afternoon sun painted long shadows across Miller's Diner parking lot. Sage Brennan stood at the edge of the cracked asphalt, her thin jacket doing nothing against the November wind. 7 years old, and she had learned that standing still made you invisible. People walked past homeless children easier when those children did not move. Her dark blonde hair hung in tangles past her shoulders. 3 months since anyone had brushed it properly. 3 months since Mama stopped waking up on that bathroom floor. 3 months of keeping herself and Eli alive on the streets of a town that pretended not to see them. Sage's stomach cramped with hunger, but she ignored it. She had gotten good at ignoring things. Hunger. Cold. The way people looked through her like she was made of glass. What mattered was the baby strapped to her chest in a carrier Mama had stolen from a department store back when things were still okay. Back when Mama was still trying. Eli had stopped crying 2 days ago. That scared Sage more than anything. Babies were supposed to cry. When they went quiet, it meant something bad. Something worse than bad. The diner door opened and warm air rushed out carrying the smell of bacon and coffee. Sage's mouth watered. She remembered bacon. Remembered sitting at a table with Mama eating pancakes when Mama had money from cleaning houses. That felt like 100 years ago now. A man walked out. Tall, old, maybe as old as Grandpa had been before he died. The man wore a leather vest over a black shirt, and his boots were scuffed from years of use. Tattoos crawled up his neck, and his gray hair was pulled back in a ponytail. He had a scar through his left eyebrow that made him look mean. But Mama's voice whispered in Sage's memory. That last good day before the bathroom floor. Before everything ended. Mama had pointed at men like this one standing by their motorcycles at a gas station. If something really bad ever happens, baby. If Mama can't help you anymore, find the men with motorcycles. The ones with leather and patches and mean faces. They're not what they look like. They protect people when nobody else will. You remember that, Sage? You remember. Sage had remembered. For 3 months she had remembered while she fed Eli with formula, bought with coins begged from strangers. While she changed his diapers in gas station bathrooms. While she rocked him to sleep under highway overpasses and in abandoned buildings. While she watched him get smaller and quieter and more still. This morning Eli would not drink his bottle, would not open his eyes. His skin felt cold even though Sage had wrapped him in every piece of clothing she could find. His breathing sounded wrong, shallow, slow, like he was forgetting how to do it. Sage knew what that meant. She had seen it before, not with a baby but with Mama's friend Crystal, who had taken too much of the stuff that came in needles. Crystal had breathed like that for a while before the breathing stopped completely. The man with the scar walked toward a motorcycle parked in the lot, a big black Harley with chrome that caught the afternoon light. He moved like someone who hurt all the time but refused to let it slow him down. His weathered hands pulled keys from his pocket. Sage made her decision, the same decision she had been making for 3 months. The decision to keep fighting, to keep Eli alive, to believe that someone somewhere would help them. She had hidden Eli under the motorcycle an hour ago, tucked him carefully between the wheels, where he would be safe while she watched and waited, where he would stay warm against the engine heat, where the man would have to see him when he came back. Now Sage ran across the parking lot. Her bare feet slapped against cold asphalt. The thin jacket flapped behind her. Her voice came out hoarse from days of not using it. Look under the bike. The man turned. His gray eyes locked on her. Something flickered across his face. Surprise, maybe. Or recognition. Like he had seen desperate children before and knew what they looked like. Sage ran faster, closer. Her breath came in gasps. Look under the bike. Please. My brother. She pointed at the Harley, at the space where Eli lay wrapped in blankets that had once been white, but were now gray with dirt and 3 months of street life. The man stared at her for one long moment. Then he moved. Fast for someone his age. He dropped to his knees beside the motorcycle, and Sage heard him suck in a sharp breath. Jesus. His voice was rough like gravel, like someone who had spent years yelling over engine noise and wind. He reached under the bike carefully, gently, like Eli was made of glass that might shatter. When he pulled the bundle out, Sage saw Eli's face, pale, too pale. His lips had a blue tint that made her chest feel tight. His eyes stayed closed. His tiny chest barely moved. How long? The man looked up at her. His gray eyes were hard but not mean, not angry, just intense, like he was trying to see all the way through her. How long has he been like this? Since this morning, Sage's voice cracked. He won't wake up, won't drink. I tried everything. The man stood. Eli looked so small, cradled against his leather vest. So small and still and wrong. What's your name? Sage. How old are you, Sage? 7, she paused, almost 8. The man looked at Eli's face, at the baby who had not moved or made a sound. Then he looked back at Sage, standing there in her dirty clothes with her tangled hair and bare feet. Something in his expression changed, softened. Not pity, something else. Something like understanding. Okay, Sage. His voice was gentler now. Steady, like he was trying not to scare her. We're going to help your brother, but I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Sage nodded. She had already decided to trust him. Had decided the moment she hid Eli under his motorcycle. Had decided because Mama said motorcycle men help when nobody else would. The man turned back toward the diner. His strides were long and Sage had to run to keep up. The door swung open and warm air washed over her. The smell of food was overwhelming. Her stomach twisted with want. Inside the diner, everything went quiet. 3 customers stopped mid-conversation. A waitress froze with a coffee pot in her hand. They all stared at the old biker holding a tiny baby, at the dirty girl running behind him. Marlene. The man's voice cut through the silence. Need your help. The waitress with the coffee pot set it down carefully. She was older, maybe 60. Gray hair pulled back in a bun and kind eyes that had seen plenty of hard things. She moved fast for her age, crossing the diner in seconds. Wade, what in the world? She stopped when she saw Eli's face. Her hand went to her mouth. Oh, Lord. Oh, that poor baby. Call 911. The man's voice stayed calm. Now, tell them we have an infant, unresponsive, possible hypothermia, possible dehydration. I don't know what else. Marlene grabbed the phone behind the counter. Her fingers shook as she dialed. The man carried Eli to the nearest booth, laid him down on the vinyl seat, started unwrapping the dirty blankets. Sage pressed close, watching, making sure Eli was still breathing. What's his name? The man asked without looking up. Eli. How old is Eli? 6 months. Where's your mama? Sage's throat went tight. She died. The man's hands paused for just a second, then kept moving, checking Eli's pulse, listening to his breathing. His weathered fingers were surprisingly gentle. How long ago? 3 months. The diner door burst open. 2 paramedics rushed in with equipment, a man and a woman in navy blue uniforms moving with practiced efficiency. They took over from the man in leather, asked questions, got answers, worked on Eli with steady hands. Sage stood back, watching strangers touch her brother, watching them stick things on his chest, shine lights in his eyes, put a mask over his face. She wanted to stop them, but she knew she could not. They were helping. This was help. This was what she had been searching for. The female paramedic looked up at the man in leather. You the father? No, he shook his head. Just found them. The girl asked for help. We need to transport immediately. The male paramedic was already lifting Eli onto a stretcher. His condition is critical. Severe dehydration, hypothermia, possible malnutrition, could be other complications. Sage felt the world tilt. Critical meant bad. Critical meant Eli might not make it. The man in leather put a hand on her shoulder, steady, warm, real. He's going to be okay. The doctors know what they're doing. But Sage heard the uncertainty in his voice, heard the way he did not quite promise, could not quite promise. The paramedics wheeled Eli toward the door. Sage started to follow, but Marlene caught her arm. Sweetie, you need to let them take him. They'll take good care of him at the hospital. I have to go with him. Sage pulled against her grip. He needs me. I know, honey, but you can't ride in the ambulance. It's against the rules. Sage watched through the diner window as they loaded Eli into the back of the ambulance. Watched the doors close. Watched the vehicle pull away with lights flashing, but no siren. That was good, right? No siren meant not the worst emergency, meant there was still time. The man in leather was talking on his phone now, his voice low and urgent. She caught fragments. Yeah, it's bad. Real bad. 6-month-old baby. Been on the streets for months. No, I don't know. The girl says her mother died. Listen, I need you to meet me at County General. Yeah, both of them. The girl, too. She's maybe 7, scared out of her mind. He hung up, looked at Sage. What's your last name? Brennan. Sage Brennan. Okay, Sage Brennan. My name is Wade Cross. Most people call me Reaper, but you can call me Wade. He crouched down so he was eye level with her. We're going to go to the hospital now, see how Eli is doing. But I need to ask you some questions first. Is that okay? Sage nodded. Where have you been living? Different places, under bridges sometimes, empty buildings, wherever was safe. Do you have any family? Anybody who can help? No, just me and Eli. What about your father? Eli's father. Sage shook her head. Don't know who my dad is. Eli's dad left before he was born. Wade's jaw tightened. He stood back up, looked at Marlene. Can you get her something to eat? Something easy. Her stomach probably can't handle too much right now. Already on it, Marlene was moving toward the kitchen, calling back to the cook. Wade guided Sage to a booth. She slid onto the vinyl seat and suddenly realized how tired she was. How much everything hurt. Her feet, her back, her head. 3 months of carrying Eli. Of staying alert. Of surviving. Marlene brought a bowl of chicken soup and a glass of milk. Sage stared at it. Real food, hot food, food she had not stolen or begged for. Go ahead, honey, eat. Sage picked up the spoon. Her hands shook. The first taste of warm broth made her want to cry. She forced herself to eat slowly, to not make herself sick. But it was hard. Her body wanted to gulp it all down, wanted to fill the empty space that had been growing for weeks. Wade sat across from her, watching, not eating, not drinking, just watching her with those hard gray eyes that had seen too much. How did you take care of Eli? Wade's voice was quiet. For 3 months. Sage swallowed a spoonful of soup. I fed him, changed him, kept him warm, found places to sleep where people wouldn't bother us. How did you get food? Begged mostly. Sometimes I took stuff from stores when nobody was looking. Just formula and diapers, things Eli needed. You're 7 years old, almost 8. Wade shook his head slowly, like he could not quite believe what he was hearing. Your mama, what happened to her? Sage set down her spoon. The soup was half gone and her stomach felt full for the first time in forever. She was trying to stay clean. That's what she said, stay clean for Eli. But then she started using again. Her boyfriends brought stuff. She would be okay for a while, then get bad again. One morning I woke up and she was on the bathroom floor. Not moving, not breathing. Did you call for help? I was scared. Sage's voice got smaller. Scared they would take Eli away. Take me away. We had been in foster care before. They separated us, put me with one family and Eli with another. Mama got clean and got us back, but she said if it happened again, they might never give us back. So I didn't call. I just took Eli and left. The diner was quiet. Even Marlene had stopped moving, standing behind the counter with tears running down her face. Wade's expression did not change, but his hands clenched on the table. You did what you thought was right. His voice was rough. Trying to protect your brother. That took guts, kid. Will Eli be okay? I don't know. Wade's honesty was hard, but better than a lie. He's real sick. But the doctors are good. They'll do everything they can. Sage nodded, picked up her spoon again, finished the soup because wasting food felt wrong even now. A woman in a gray suit walked into the diner. She looked around, spotted Wade and Sage, walked over with a clipboard and an expression that Sage had seen before. The expression that meant adults who thought they knew better. Mr. Cross, the woman's voice was clipped. Professional. I'm Judith Carlson from Child Protective Services. We got a call about a minor in distress. Wade stood. Sage stayed in the booth. Small, trying to be invisible again. The girl's name is Sage Brennan, 7 years old. She's been on the streets for 3 months taking care of her baby brother. Mother deceased, no other family. Brother is currently at County General in critical condition. Ms. Carlson's eyes swept over Sage, taking in the dirty clothes, the tangled hair, the bare feet. Her expression softened slightly, but her voice stayed firm. Sage, honey, I need you to come with me. We're going to get you cleaned up, get you some proper clothes, make sure you're not hurt. I need to see Eli. Sage's voice was barely a whisper. We'll go to the hospital. I promise. But first we need to take care of you. Wade crossed his arms. She stays with me. We're going to the hospital together. Mr. Cross. Miss Carlson's voice hardened. I appreciate what you've done, but this is now a matter for Child Protective Services. I have to follow protocol. Your protocol can wait an hour. Wade's tone left no room for argument. That girl has been taking care of her brother for 3 months. She deserves to see him. To know he's okay, then you can do your job. Ms. Carlson looked at Wade, at his leather vest and tattoos and hard face. Looked at Sage sitting small in the booth, calculating, weighing options. Fine, 1 hour. But I'll be accompanying you to the hospital. And Mr. Cross, I'll need to run a background check. Standard procedure when an adult unknown to the child is involved. Wade's jaw tightened, but he nodded. They took Wade's truck to the hospital, a beat-up Ford that smelled like motor oil and leather. Sage sat in the back seat. Ms. Carlson sat up front making calls on her phone, talking in quiet, urgent tones about placement and emergency custody and family services. Sage watched the town pass by outside the window. Streets she had walked, alleys she had slept in, places that had felt dangerous in the dark but looked normal in the afternoon sun. Regular people doing regular things, not knowing that some children survived on their own in the shadows. County General Hospital was big and white and clean. Everything smelled like antiseptic. Wade led them to the emergency room desk, asked about Eli Brennan, 6 months old, brought in by ambulance. The nurse made a phone call, checked her computer, looked up with an expression that made Sage's stomach drop. The baby is in the ICU, pediatric wing, 3rd floor, but only family can visit. I'm his sister. Sage stepped forward, her voice stronger now. I take care of him. The nurse looked at Ms. Carlson for confirmation. It's true, Ms. Carlson said. She's been his primary caregiver. The nurse nodded, printed out visitor badges, gave directions. The elevator ride felt endless. Sage counted the numbers. 1, 2, 3. The doors opened onto a floor that was too quiet, too serious, where machines beeped and doctors walked fast and parents sat in waiting rooms with faces that showed how fragile life could be. A doctor met them in the hallway, young, maybe 30, with tired eyes and hands that never stopped moving. You're Sage. The doctor crouched down to her level. I'm Dr. Lisa Hammond. I've been taking care of your brother. Is he okay? He's stable. Dr. Hammond chose her words carefully. But he's very sick. Severe dehydration, hypothermia, malnutrition. His body is working hard to recover. We have him on IV fluids, warming blankets, monitors. He's getting everything he needs. Can I see him? Of course, but Sage, I need you to be prepared. He has a lot of tubes and wires. It might look scary, but all of it is helping him get better. Dr. Hammond led them to a room with glass walls. Inside, Sage could see a tiny figure in a big white bed. Eli, so small, surrounded by machines, wires running from his chest, a tube in his arm, a mask over his face, but his chest was moving, up and down, regular, real. Sage pressed her hand against the glass. Eli was alive, breathing, fighting. You saved his life, Dr. Hammond said quietly. If you had waited another day, maybe even another few hours. She did not finish the sentence, did not need to. Wade stood behind Sage, his hand on her shoulder again. Steady. You did good, kid. Real good. Ms. Carlson was talking to Dr. Hammond now, asking medical questions, taking notes. But Sage only half listened. She was watching Eli, watching him breathe, promising him silently that she would not leave him, that they would stay together no matter what. After 20 minutes, Ms. Carlson touched Sage's arm. We need to go now, honey. Let Eli rest. You need rest too. Where are we going? To a shelter. Just for tonight, until we figure out next steps. Sage looked up at Wade. He met her eyes. I'll make sure you two stay together. Wade's voice was firm. That's a promise. Ms. Carlson's expression tightened. Mr. Cross, I need to speak with you privately. They walked to the end of the hallway. Sage could not hear what they were saying, but she watched their body language. Carlson's crossed arms, her sharp gestures, Wade's still posture, his clenched fists. When they came back, Miss Carlson's face was set in professional neutrality, but something cold had entered her eyes. Sage, honey, let's go get you settled. Sage looked back at Wade, at this stranger who had helped when nobody else would, who had kept Eli alive, who had promised to keep them together. Thank you. Her voice came out small, but she meant it bigger than she had ever meant anything. Wade nodded, his gray eyes held something that looked like pain, like he understood what it meant to lose people, to be left behind. I'll see you tomorrow, kid. We're not done yet. At the shelter, Miss Carlson helped Sage get cleaned up. A hot shower that turned the water brown. Clean clothes that were too big but smelled like laundry soap. A real bed with sheets and a pillow. Marlene came too, sat with Sage, brushed her hair gently while Sage tried not to cry. You're safe now, Marlene's voice was soft. Both of you. But Sage did not feel safe. She felt like the world was spinning, like everything was changing too fast, like she had asked for help and gotten more than she bargained for. Marlene stayed until Sage fell asleep, exhaustion finally taking her under. But before she slept, she heard voices in the hallway. Miss Carlson and someone else. A man's voice. Official. Cold. The background check came back. His record is extensive. Multiple arrests, assault, conspiracy, Hells Angels member for 25 years. Robert Wade Cross, also known as Reaper. Mr. Cross is absolutely unsuitable as a guardian for these children. Ms. Carlson's response was quiet, but Sage heard it clearly. I agree. We'll need to find proper placement. Keep them away from him, no contact. What about the girl? She seems attached to him. Children get attached to anyone who shows them kindness. It doesn't mean it's healthy. We'll explain the situation in the morning. Make the transition as smooth as possible. Sage lay in the dark, clean bed and felt fear rise in her chest. They were going to take Wade away. Take away the one person who had helped, who had promised to keep them together. She thought about Eli in the hospital, about machines keeping him alive, about Wade's gray eyes and scarred hands and the way he had held Eli like something precious. Mama had said, find the motorcycle men. Mama had been right. Wade had saved them. Now Sage needed to save Wade. She did not know how yet, did not know what a 7-year-old girl could do against adults with clipboards and rules and power. But she would figure it out. She had kept Eli alive for 3 months. She could do this too. Outside the shelter window, the sun set over a town that looked peaceful in the fading light. Families sat down to dinner. Children played in yards. Normal people living normal lives. But Sage Brennan was not a normal child. Had not been normal since the day she found Mama on the bathroom floor. Since the day she became 7 years old with a baby to raise and no one to help. She had learned to survive on the streets. Had learned that asking for help was the hardest thing, but also the only thing that mattered. Now she was learning something else. That sometimes the people who looked the scariest were the safest. That promises made by strangers with hard eyes could mean more than promises made by people who were supposed to love you. That fighting for family meant fighting even when you were small and scared and the world seemed impossibly big. Sage closed her eyes. Tomorrow she would see Eli again, would make sure he was getting better, would find a way to keep Wade in their lives. Tomorrow the real fight would begin, but tonight she would rest, would let herself be 7 years old and tired and safe, would trust that morning would come and bring with it another chance to be brave. The machines in Eli's hospital room beeped steadily through the night, his small chest rising and falling, fighting to stay alive, fighting to come back to the sister who had saved him. And in a small apartment across town, Wade Cross sat at his kitchen table, surrounded by papers, legal documents, background checks, a past that would not stay buried. He stared at a photo Marlene had taken that afternoon. Sage's face pressed against the hospital glass, small hand reaching toward her brother. He had made a promise to that girl, a promise to keep her family together. Wade had broken a lot of promises in his life, had failed people who counted on him, had been the kind of man who destroyed instead of protected. But this promise felt different. This promise felt like maybe the last chance to become someone worth being. Wade picked up his phone, started making calls, old numbers he had not dialed in years, friends who had left the life behind, brothers who had gone straight, people who owed him favors, people he could trust. If the system said he was unsuitable, then he would prove the system wrong, would show them that a man's past did not have to be his future. That motorcycle men with scars and tattoos could still be heroes to children who needed them. The fight was coming. Wade could feel it building like a storm on the horizon, but he had fought before, had survived worse. And this time he was fighting for something that mattered more than his own life. He was fighting for a 7-year-old girl who had walked through hell to protect her brother, for a baby who deserved a chance to grow up safe, for the promise he had made to Sage Brennan in a hospital hallway while her world fell apart. Wade Cross would keep that promise, or die trying. The night deepened, the town slept, and two children lay in different beds dreaming of a future where family meant more than blood, where strangers became heroes, where courage looked like a small girl running across a parking lot screaming, "Look under the bike," where love meant a scarred man with gray eyes holding a dying baby with hands gentle enough to give him back his life. Morning light filtered through the shelter windows. Sage woke to the smell of pancakes and the quiet murmur of other children eating breakfast. For a moment, she forgot where she was, forgot everything that had happened. Then memory crashed back and her chest tightened. Eli was in the hospital. Wade had promised to keep them together. Ms. Carlson said Wade was unsuitable. Sage sat up in the narrow bed. Her body ached less now. The hot shower and real sleep had helped. But her mind raced with questions that had no good answers. Marlene appeared in the doorway holding a tray. "Morning, honey. Brought you some breakfast." Sage took the tray. Pancakes. Orange juice. More food than she had seen in months. But her stomach felt too tight to eat much. "Can we go see Eli? After breakfast. Miss Carlson is coming at 9 to take us to the hospital." Sage ate slowly, thinking, planning. She was 7 years old, but 3 months on the streets had taught her things other 7-year-olds never learned. How to read adults, how to stay quiet and listen, how to find opportunities in chaos. At County General Hospital, Eli looked better. Still small in the big bed, still connected to machines, but his color had improved. His breathing sounded stronger. When Sage touched his tiny hand through the incubator opening, his fingers curled around hers. "He knows you're here." Dr. Hammond stood beside them. "Babies recognize their caregivers. You've been his whole world for 3 months. That bond doesn't break. When can he come home?" Dr. Hammond glanced at Ms. Carlson, then back at Sage. "We need to keep him here for at least another week. Make sure he's stable, gaining weight. Then we'll talk about discharge plans." Discharge plans meant figuring out where Sage and Eli would live, who would take care of them, whether they would stay together. Carlson touched Sage's shoulder. "Honey, we need to talk about what happens next." They sat in a family waiting room, plastic chairs and outdated magazines. A window overlooking the parking lot where Sage could see Wade's truck parked 3 rows back. He had come, was waiting, keeping his promise, even though Miss Carlson had said no contact. "Sage, I've been making calls." Ms. Carlson's voice was gentle but firm. "We have several foster families in the area who can take both you and Eli, keep you together, give you stability." "What about Wade?" Ms. Carlson's expression tightened. "Mr. Cross is not an option. His background check revealed a criminal history that makes him unsuitable for guardianship. Multiple arrests, assault charges. He was a member of a motorcycle gang for over 2 decades. These are not the kind of influences children need. He saved Eli's life. I know he helped you, and we're grateful. But helping in an emergency is different from being a guardian. You need someone with a clean record, someone experienced with children, someone who can provide a safe, stable home." Sage looked out the window at Wade's truck, at the man who had kept his word, who had held Eli gently, whose gray eyes had seen her not as invisible but as someone worth helping. "I want to stay with Wade." "That's not possible." "Why not?" "Because," Ms. Carlson chose her words carefully, "Mr. Cross has hurt people in his past. He's been involved in violence, in illegal activities. The court would never approve him as a guardian. He's different now. People don't change that much, Sage." "Not really." But Sage knew that was wrong. She had changed in 3 months, had gone from a child who needed taking care of to a child who could take care of someone else, had learned that survival meant becoming someone new, someone stronger. If she could change, then Wade could too. Marlene drove Sage back to the shelter. They passed Wade's truck in the parking lot. Sage turned to watch it disappear behind them. He's a good man, Marlene said quietly. Whatever his past was, he's good now. Miss Carlson doesn't think so. Miss Carlson has rules to follow. Sometimes rules don't account for people who've earned their second chances. How do I help him? Marlene glanced at her in the rearview mirror. You're 7 years old, honey. This isn't your fight. But it was. Sage knew it was, because if she did not fight, then she and Eli would go to some foster family. Nice people, maybe. Good people. But strangers. And Wade would be alone again. Would go back to his empty apartment and his quiet life and the loneliness that had lived in his eyes before he found them. That night at the shelter, Sage could not sleep. She lay in the dark listening to other children breathing, thinking about Mama's words, about motorcycle men who protected people, about promises that mattered. She heard voices in the hallway again, Ms. Carlson talking to someone on the phone. No, the girl is insistent about this cross character. Some kind of attachment formed. Yes, I understand trauma bonding. We'll work on transitioning her expectations. The foster family I have in mind is excellent. The Hendersons. They've taken sibling groups before. Very experienced. The voice on the other end said something Sage could not hear. I already explained to her that Cross is unsuitable. Honestly, with his record, I'm surprised he's not in prison. 25 years with the Hells Angels. Do you know what that means? These aren't weekend riders. These are criminals, enforcers, the kind of people who hurt others for a living. More muffled response. I don't care if he's been clean for 15 years. A leopard doesn't change its spots. And I won't risk these children's safety on the off chance that he's reformed. The answer is no, and it will remain no. Sage pulled the blanket over her head. Her chest felt tight with anger and fear. Ms. Carlson had already decided, had made up her mind without really knowing Wade, without seeing how careful he had been with Eli, how his voice had gone soft when he talked to Sage, how he had promised and meant it. Adults were supposed to help children, but sometimes adults got it wrong. Sometimes they followed rules that did not fit the situation. Sometimes they could not see past the surface to what was real underneath. Sage would have to be smarter than them, would have to find a way to show them who Wade really was. The next morning, Sage asked Marlene a question. Do you know where Wade lives? Marlene hesitated, then nodded slowly. Why, honey? I need to talk to him. About Eli. About what happens next. Ms. Carlson said no contact. Ms. Carlson isn't here right now. Marlene looked at Sage for a long moment, reading her face, seeing something there that made her decision. He lives about 3 miles from here. Little apartment over on Oakwood Street. But Sage, if we go, you can't tell, Ms. Carlson. I could get in trouble for this. I won't tell. They drove in Marlene's old sedan, past the diner where this had all started, past streets that looked different in daylight. Safe. Normal. Not the hunting ground they had been when Sage was surviving alone. Wade's apartment was small, second floor of a building that had seen better days. Marlene knocked, waited, knocked again. Wade opened the door. He looked tired, like he had not slept much. When he saw Sage, his expression changed. Surprise, then something like relief. Kid, what are you doing here? Can we come in? Marlene asked. Just for a few minutes. Wade stepped aside. Let them in. The apartment was sparse. A couch, a TV, kitchen table covered in papers, walls bare except for one photograph. An old picture of a young man in a Navy uniform. Wade decades ago, before the scars, before the gray hair, before whatever had happened to put that hard look in his eyes. Sage walked to the table, looked at the papers scattered there. Legal documents, background check results, list of names and numbers. Wade had been working, trying to find a way to keep his promise. They won't let you take us. Sage's voice was quiet but steady. Wade sat down heavily on the couch. I know, kid. Miss Carlson made that pretty clear. Because of your because of my past. Sage picked up one of the papers. A background check with Wade's arrest record, printed in black and white, 12 arrests between 1982 and 1997, assault, battery, conspiracy. The dates stopped 15 years ago, but the damage was done. What did you do? Sage asked. In the motorcycle gang. Wade looked at her, really looked, like he was trying to decide how much truth a 7-year-old could handle. Bad things. His voice was rough. I hurt people, stole things, protected other members when they did worse. I was an enforcer. That means when someone needed to be scared or beaten or worse, I was the one they sent. Sage absorbed this. It matched what Ms. Carlson had said, what the background check showed. But it did not match the man who had held Eli gently, who had called paramedics, who had stayed. Why did you stop? Wade was quiet for a long time. I got tired. Tired of hurting. Tired of being angry all the time. Tired of waking up and not recognizing the man in the mirror. So I walked away. 15 years ago. Told them I was done. Some guys understood. Some didn't. But I was done either way. Do you still hurt people? No. Do you still steal? No. Do you still do bad things? Wade met her eyes. Not for a long time. I fix motorcycles now. Pay my rent. Stay out of trouble. That's all I've wanted until I found you two. Now I want something different. Want to help. But my past won't let me. Sage made a decision. The same kind of decision she had been making for 3 months. The decision to fight. Then we'll show them your present is different than your past. Kid, Wade's voice held warning. This isn't your battle? Yes, it is. Sage's voice grew stronger. You promised to keep us together. I'm going to help you keep that promise. Marlene had been quiet, but now she spoke. Wade, do you have anything from before? From when you were in the Navy? Anything that shows the man you were before the gang? Wade frowned. Thought about it, maybe. There's a box. Stuff I haven't looked at in years. Didn't see the point. Can we see it? Wade got up, went to a closet, pulled out a cardboard box covered in dust, set it on the coffee table, opened it carefully. Inside were remnants of a different life. Navy uniform, medals, photographs of young men on a ship deck, and at the bottom a bundle of letters tied with string. What are these? Sage reached for them. Wade's hand stopped her, gentle but firm. Personal stuff, from a long time ago. But Sage saw his expression, saw something there that looked like pain mixed with pride. These letters meant something, something important. Please, her voice was soft. If they help prove you're good, then I need to see them. Wade stared at the letters, then slowly released her hand. Let her pick up the bundle. Sage untied the string, opened the top letter carefully. The paper was old, bound, yellowed, but the typing was clear. She read slowly, sounding out words she did not know. To whom it may concern. This letter serves as a formal commendation for Seaman Wade Cross. On March 14, 1974, a fire broke out in the engine room of USS Franklin. Seaman Cross showed exceptional courage and leadership in evacuating injured personnel and containing the blaze. His actions directly saved the lives of 4 crew members and prevented catastrophic damage to the vessel. It is my professional opinion that Seaman Cross possesses the highest qualities of character, including bravery, compassion, and selflessness. He is a credit to the United States Navy and to his country. The letter was signed Commander Joseph Hayes. Sage looked up at Wade. You saved people. Wade's jaw was tight, his eyes distant. That was a lifetime ago. No. Sage held up the letter. This is proof. Proof you were always good, even before you made mistakes. This is who you really are. She kept reading through the bundle. 5 more letters, all from Commander Hayes, all describing Wade's actions during different incidents. Rescuing a man overboard, breaking up a fight before it turned deadly, mentoring younger sailors, teaching safety protocols. These weren't just commendations. They were a portrait of a man who protected others, who stepped up in crisis, who had the same instincts then that he had shown when he found Eli under his motorcycle. Marlene read over Sage's shoulder. Her hand went to her mouth. Wade, these are gold. Do you know what these prove? That your fundamental nature was always to protect, that the gang years were the aberration, not the norm. Wade shook his head. Doesn't matter. Miss Carlson already made her decision. Then we change her mind. Sage's voice held certainty. We show her these. We show her you were a hero before, that you can be a hero again. She folded the letters carefully, put them in her jacket pocket. I'm taking these to the lawyer. What lawyer? The one who's going to help us. Sage stood up, her 7-year-old frame trying to look tall, trying to look sure. Because she was sure. She had found the proof. Now she just needed to find someone who would listen. Marlene drove Sage back to the shelter, but on the way, Sage asked her to stop at one more place, the diner. Inside, Marlene made a phone call, talked quietly, hung up and nodded to Sage. She'll meet us here in 20 minutes. Who? A lawyer, friend of a friend. She specializes in family court. If anyone can help Wade, it's her. The woman who walked into the diner 20 minutes later was not what Sage expected. She was younger than Ms. Carlson, maybe 40, dark hair pulled back, briefcase in one hand and coffee in the other. She sat down at their booth and looked at Sage with sharp, intelligent eyes. I'm Gina Whitmore. Marlene tells me you need help with a guardianship case. Sage pulled out the letters, set them on the table. These are from Wade's commanding officer, from when he was in the Navy, before everything else. They prove he's good. Gina picked up the first letter. Read it. Her eyebrows rose. She read the second, then the third. When she finished all 5, she set them down carefully. Where did you get these? From Wade's apartment. He didn't even remember he had them. And you're 7 years old, almost 8. Gina looked at Marlene, then back at Sage. Tell me everything. So Sage did, starting from Mama dying on the bathroom floor, 3 months on the streets, Eli getting sicker, finding Wade, Miss Carlson saying no, all of it spilling out in a rush of words that she had been holding back for too long. When she finished, Gina was quiet, thinking. Her fingers tapped the table. Okay, here's the situation. Wade's criminal record is extensive, that's a problem, but these letters show character at a fundamental level. Show that violence wasn't his nature, but a choice he made and then later chose to stop making. That's important. Can you help him? Maybe, but it won't be easy. We'll need more than letters. We'll need character witnesses, proof of his current life, evidence that he's stable and responsible. He fixes motorcycles, pays his rent, hasn't been arrested in 15 years. That's a start. Gina made notes. What about friends, people who know him now? Marlene spoke up. I've known Wade for 5 years. He comes to my diner almost every day, never causes trouble. Tips well, polite to everyone. I'd testify to that. Good. Anyone else? There was a man, Sage tried to remember, at the hospital. Wade called him, said he was coming to help. Someone Wade knew from before. Do you remember a name? Sage closed her eyes, thought hard. The name had been unusual. Hank. His name is Hank. Wade called him Ironside. Gina wrote this down. Ironside is a road name, old biker nickname. If Hank left the life too, he might be willing to testify about Wade's transformation. She looked at Sage. You found these letters. You tracked down my number through Marlene. You're pretty resourceful for 7. I had to be. Gina's expression softened. Yes, you did. And that's tragic. But it also means you have skills most kids don't. You know how to fight, how to survive. Those are the same skills you're going to need now, because this is going to be a fight. Ms. Carlson has the law on her side. We have these letters and the truth. Sometimes that's enough, sometimes it isn't. Sage met Gina's eyes. I'm not giving up. Good. Neither am I. Over the next 3 days, Sage became a different kind of fighter. Not fighting for survival on the streets, but fighting for family in conference rooms and phone calls and legal documents. Gina took Wade's case, filed emergency petitions, requested a hearing, built a strategy around the Navy letters and character witnesses in 15 years of clean living. But they needed more. They needed to show that Wade was not just reformed, but actively good. That placing Sage and Eli with him would be better than placing them anywhere else. Sage helped in ways that surprised everyone. She drew pictures of Eli in the hospital, of Wade holding him gently, of herself and Wade and Eli as a family, pictures that showed what words could not, that showed the bond that had formed in those first critical hours. She wrote a letter to the judge, in her 7-year-old handwriting with the spelling mistakes and crooked lines. But the words were clear. Dear Judge, my name is Sage. I am almost 8. My brother Eli almost died. Wade saved him. Wade is good. Please let us stay with Wade. He promised to keep us together. Adults should keep promises. Love, Sage. Gina read the letter and her eyes got wet. This is perfect. This is exactly what the judge needs to see. But Ms. Carlson was building her case too. She interviewed Sage 3 times, asked careful questions about Wade, about what he said, what he did, whether he ever seemed angry or violent or scary. Sage answered honestly. Wade had never been angry around her, had never raised his voice, had only been gentle and careful and true to his word. But Ms. Carlson's questions made it clear she did not believe Wade could really be different, that she saw his past as permanent proof of his character, that no amount of change would be enough to overcome 12 arrests and 25 years in a gang. On the fourth day, Sage overheard something that changed everything. She was at the shelter, in her room drawing another picture for Gina. The door was cracked open and voices drifted in from the hallway. A man's voice, rough, angry, not Wade's voice, but similar. You tell Cross I want to talk to him. Tonight, he knows where to find me, son. Carlson's voice, professional but nervous. I'm sorry, but I can't deliver messages to Mr. Cross. I have no contact with him outside official channels. Then I'll deliver it myself. But you should know something. Cross isn't who he pretends to be. That whole reformed act. It's bullshit. I know what he did back in the day. Kansas City, 1984. You want to know about that? Because I was there. I saw everything. The man's footsteps moved away. Miss Carlson stood in the hallway, silent, thinking. Sage waited until Miss Carlson left. Then she crept out of her room, down the stairs, out the back door. She knew this was dangerous, knew she should tell someone, but she also knew that if this man talked to Wade, if he threatened him, Wade might give up, might decide the fight was not worth it. Sage could not let that happen. She followed the sound of a motorcycle engine, watched from around the corner of a building as a man climbed onto a Harley. Older than Wade, thinner, with a beard that had more gray than black and eyes that looked mean even from a distance. The man rode away. Sage memorized what she could. The motorcycle was blue and silver. The man wore a leather vest with patches. One patch said Kane in silver letters. Kane. The name meant something. Wade had mentioned it once on the phone. Victor Kane, an old brother who had gone a different direction. Sage went back to her room, thought hard. Victor Kane knew something about Kansas City, 1984, something bad enough to use as a threat, something that could destroy Wade's chances. She needed to warn Wade. But more than that, she needed to stop Victor from talking, needed to find a way to protect Wade from his own past. That night, Sage did something that scared her more than anything since Mama died. She snuck out of the shelter. The windows did not lock properly. Sage was small enough to squeeze through. She dropped into the bushes below, landed hard but did not cry out. Then she ran. She did not know where she was going exactly, just followed instinct, followed half-remembered directions from when Marlene had driven her around town, followed until she found what she was looking for. A garage with motorcycles parked outside, a sign that said Murphy's Custom Bikes, lights on inside, even though it was almost midnight. Sage walked up to the door, pushed it open. Inside, 3 men looked up from where they sat around a workbench, all older, all in leather, all with the same look Wade had, that look that said they had seen hard things and done harder things. One of them stood, massive, at least 6.5 feet tall with the arms like tree trunks. Kid. His voice was surprisingly gentle. What are you doing out this late? I'm looking for Hank. Wade's friend. The big man's eyebrows rose. How do you know Hank? Wade mentioned him. Said he left the life. Said he was good people. Another man stepped forward, shorter, gray beard, eyes that saw everything. I'm Hank. What's this about? Sage took a breath. Wade saved my brother. Now someone's trying to hurt him. Someone named Victor Kane. He knows something about Kansas City from a long time ago. He's going to tell the social worker. Going to make sure Wade can't keep us. The 3 men exchanged looks. Something passed between them. Something dark. Victor Kane, Hank's voice went hard. That son of a bitch, you know him. Unfortunately, he rode with us back in the day. Wade and Victor had history, bad history. Victor never forgave Wade for leaving. What happened in Kansas City? Hank shook his head. That's not my story to tell, kid. But I'll say this, whatever happened, Wade spent 15 years trying to make up for it. Victor hasn't made up for anything. He's still living the life, still causing trouble, still angry at the world. The big man spoke up. If Victor's coming after Wade, we need to know. We take care of our own, even the ones who left. Wade's trying to adopt us, Sage said. Me and my brother. But the social worker says he can't because of his record. Victor's going to make it worse. Hank knelt down so he was eye level with Sage. You came here, middle of the night, by yourself, to help Wade. Yes, that takes guts, kid. Real guts. Wade kept his promise. I'm keeping mine. Hank smiled. It transformed his face. Made him look less scary and more like someone's grandfather. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to pay Victor a visit, make it clear that Wade's off limits. That if he wants to dredge up old business, he better be ready to have his business examined too. And trust me, Victor's got plenty of skeletons. Will that work? The big man laughed. Honey, when you eat, Hell's Angels show up at your door at 3 in the morning. You tend to listen real carefully to what they have to say. Sage felt relief wash over her, then realized something else. How do I get back to the shelter? Hank stood up. I'll drive you. And kid, next time you need help, ask during daylight hours. Deal. Deal. The drive back to the shelter was quiet. Hank kept looking at her in the rearview mirror. Finally, he spoke. Wade told me about you, about what you did for your brother. 3 months on the streets, 7 years old. He trailed off. That's something. I didn't have a choice. We always have choices. You made good ones. Hank pulled up a block from the shelter. Let Sage out. We'll handle Victor. You focus on the hearing, on telling the truth, on showing that judge what kind of man Wade really is. Can you do that? Yes, good, because Wade's going to need you. This isn't going to be easy. The system doesn't like guys like us, doesn't believe we can change. You're going to have to prove them wrong. Sage climbed back through the window, back into her bed, her heart still racing but her mind clear. She had taken action, had protected Wade the same way he had protected Eli, had found allies, had started building something that might be strong enough to fight the system. 2 days later, Gina called with news. We have a hearing date, 2 weeks from now. Judge Margaret Sullivan. She's tough but fair. If we can present a strong case, she'll listen. What do we need? Everything we've got. The Navy letters, character witnesses, proof of Wade's current stability, and Sage. The judge will want to hear from you. Want to know what you want. Are you ready for that? Sage thought about everything she had survived, everything she had fought for, everything she had promised. Yes, I'm ready. But 3 days before the hearing, Ms. Carlson came to the shelter with an offer. She sat Sage down in the common room, spoke in her professional voice that was trying to sound kind, but came across as condescending. Sage, I have wonderful news. The Henderson family has agreed to take both you and Eli. They're experienced foster parents. They have a big house, their own children are grown. They can provide everything you need. Stability, education, health care, and most importantly, they can keep you and your brother together. Sage's stomach dropped. What about Wade? Mr. Cross is not an option. We've been over this, but we have a hearing in 3 days. That hearing is a formality. With Mr. Cross's record, the judge will never approve him. I'm trying to save you from disappointment. The Hendersons are guaranteed. They want you. They can take you both as soon as Eli is discharged from the hospital. Sage looked at her hands, at the dirt still under her fingernails despite weeks of regular washing, at the calluses from carrying Eli, at the scars from living on streets that did not care if children survived. No, Ms. Carlson blinked. Excuse me. No, I don't want the Hendersons. I want Wade. Sage, you're not thinking clearly. You barely know Mr. Cross. The Hendersons can give you a real home, a real family. Wade is my family. He promised to keep us together. I'm holding him to that promise. This is about more than promises. This is about your safety, your future. Sage stood up, her 7-year-old frame trying to look bigger than it was, her voice steady even though her heart pounded. I've been taking care of myself and Eli for 3 months. I kept us alive when nobody else helped. I found Wade because Mama said motorcycle men protect people. Wade saved Eli's life. He's been there every single day since. He doesn't drink, doesn't yell, doesn't lie. He's good. And I'm not giving up on him just because You're scared of his past. Ms. Carlson's face went red. Young lady, you don't get to make this decision. I'm your caseworker, and I know what's best for you. No, Sage's voice rose. You know what's easiest, what fits your rules. But you don't know me, don't know Wade, don't know what we've been through, and you don't get to decide who my family is. She walked out of the common room. Left Ms. Carlson sitting there with her mouth open. Left before the tears came, before the fear that she had just made everything worse caught up with her certainty that she was doing the right thing. Marlene found her 10 minutes later, sitting on the back steps, crying. I heard what you said to Miss Carlson. Marlene sat down beside her. That took real courage. She's going to be so mad. Maybe. But you stood up for what you believe in, for your family. That matters more than making adults comfortable. What if the judge says no? What if they make us go to the Hendersons anyway? Then you fight, you testify, you tell the truth, and whatever happens, you know you did everything you could. Sage wiped her eyes. I'm scared. Good. Being scared means you care, means what you're fighting for matters. The people who aren't scared are the ones who've given up. You haven't given up. No, I haven't. That night, Sage could not sleep again. She lay in bed thinking about the hearing, about standing in front of a judge, about having to find the words to explain why Wade mattered, why he deserved a chance. She got up, found paper and crayons, started drawing. She drew Wade holding Eli in the diner, drew Wade's truck in the hospital parking lot, drew herself and Wade and Eli holding hands, drew the Navy letters spread across a table, drew Hank and the other bikers, drew Marlene, drew Gina. She drew the family she was building, the family that did not look like normal families, but was real anyway. At the bottom of the last picture, she wrote in her careful 7-year-old handwriting, "This is my family. We choose each other. Please don't take it away." Morning came. The hearing was 2 days away. Sage gave the new pictures to Gina, who looked at them and nodded. These are perfect. The judge needs to see this, needs to understand what she'll be destroying if she says no. Will she say no? Gina was honest. I don't know. Wade's record is bad. Ms. Carlson's recommendation will be against him. But we have those letters. We have witnesses. And we have you. A 7-year-old girl who fought like hell to survive. Who found help. Who refuses to give up on the man who helped her. That counts for something. How much? We're about to find out. The day before the hearing, Wade came to the shelter. Ms. Carlson tried to stop him, but Gina had gotten a court order allowing supervised contact. So Wade sat in the common room with Sage while Ms. Carlson watched from across the room, her arms crossed, her face disapproving. How are you holding up, kid? I'm okay. You? Wade's smile was tired. Been better, been worse. Gina says you've been helping, finding evidence, drawing pictures, that you even tracked down Hank. He's nice. All of them are. They're good men. Most of them. Took different paths but ended up in good places. Like I'm trying to do. Sage looked at Wade's weathered face, at the scars and gray hair and hard lines around his eyes. Are you scared about tomorrow? Wade's honesty matched Gina's. Terrified. I've faced down worse things than a courtroom, but this matters more. You and Eli matter more than anything I've ever fought for. So yeah, I'm scared. Me too. That's okay. Being scared together is better than being scared alone. They sat in silence for a while. Ms. Carlson checked her watch, made a call, paced the room. Finally, Wade spoke again. Whatever happens tomorrow, I want you to know something. You saved your brother's life. You did that. Not me. I just helped. But the real hero is you, a 7-year-old kid who refused to quit, who walked up to a stranger and demanded help. That takes courage most adults don't have. I learned out from Mama. She always said, don't quit. Your mama was right about the motorcycle men. Wade's voice was soft. She was right about a lot of things, and I'm going to do everything I can to honor that, to be the man she trusted you to find. Time's up. Ms. Carlson's voice cut through the moment. Mr. Cross, you need to leave. Wade stood, looked down at Sage. See you tomorrow, kid, in court. We're going to fight like hell. Sage nodded, watched him walk away, watched him climb into his truck, watched him drive off toward whatever tomorrow would bring. That night, the shelter was quiet. Other children slept. Staff moved through hallways doing bed checks, Everything normal, everything routine. But Sage lay awake, thinking about the hearing, about what she would say, how she would convince a judge that Wade deserved a chance, that family was not always about blood or clean records or perfect circumstances, that sometimes family was about promises kept, encouraged shared, and two broken people finding each other in a parking lot on the worst day of their lives. She thought about Eli in the hospital, getting stronger every day, waiting to come home, waiting for Sage to build him a home worth coming to. She thought about Wade alone in his apartment, surrounded by legal papers and old photographs and the weight of a past he could not escape, but was trying desperately to overcome. She thought about Mama, about the last words Mama had spoken before the drugs took her away. Take care of your brother, baby. Find the motorcycle men. They'll help. Mama had been right. The motorcycle men had helped. Now Sage needed to help them back. Tomorrow would be the hardest fight, the fight that would determine everything. Whether Sage and Eli stayed together, whether Wade got his second chance, whether promises made in parking lots and hospital hallways had any weight in a world that valued paperwork over people. Sage closed her eyes, said a prayer to Mama wherever she was, asked for strength, asked for the right words, asked for the judge to see past the surface to the truth underneath. Then she slept, dreaming of courtrooms and gavels and a future that was still uncertain but worth fighting for. Part 2 was ending. The battle lines were drawn, the evidence gathered, the witnesses prepared. Tomorrow, Sage Brennan would walk into a courtroom and fight for her family, would stand before a judge and speak truth to power, would prove that a 7-year-old girl who survived 3 months on the streets could also survive the system that was supposed to protect her, would prove that some promises were worth keeping no matter what the rules said, would prove that family was something you built, something you chose, something you fought for even when fighting seemed impossible. The hearing was coming, and Sage was ready. The morning of the hearing arrived with pale November sun that did nothing to warm the cold air. Sage woke before dawn, dressed in the clothes Marlene had bought her, a blue dress that was simple but nice, shoes that fit, hair brushed and pulled back with clips. She looked in the mirror and barely recognized herself. 3 weeks ago, she had been a street kid, dirty, desperate, invisible. Now she looked like any other 7-year-old getting ready for school. But this was not school. This was war. Marlene picked her up at 8, drove through streets that were starting to wake up, past the diner where this had all started, past the hospital where Eli was getting stronger every day, past Wade's apartment building where lights were already on in his second-floor window. The courthouse was downtown, a big stone building with columns and steps that seemed designed to make people feel small. Sage climbed them slowly, each step taking her closer to the moment that would decide everything. Inside, the courthouse smelled like wood polish and old paper. People in suits walked past carrying briefcases. Lawyers, judges, clerks, all of them moving with purpose, all of them knowing where they belonged. Sage did not feel like she belonged here, but she was here anyway. Gina met them in the hallway outside courtroom 3B. She wore a dark suit and her hair was pulled back severely. Professional. Ready. How are you feeling? Scared. Good. That means you're taking this seriously. Gina knelt down, looked Sage in the eyes. Remember what we talked about. Tell the truth. Don't exaggerate. Don't try to make Wade sound perfect. Just tell them what you know, what you've seen, why he matters to you. What if they don't believe me? Then we fight harder. But Sage, you've already done the hardest part. You survived. You saved your brother. You found help, standing up in court and telling the truth. That's nothing compared to what you've already been through. Sage nodded, tried to believe it. Wade arrived at 8:30. He wore a suit that looked borrowed, too big in the shoulders. The tie was crooked, and his weathered hands kept fidgeting with it. His gray hair was pulled back neatly, but his face showed strain. Lines deeper than usual, eyes that had not seen much sleep. He saw Sage and something in his expression softened. Hey, kid. Hi, you ready for this? Are you? Wade's laugh was short, rough, not even a little bit, but we're doing it anyway. Behind Wade came other people. Hank Murphy in a suit that barely contained his massive frame. 3 other men, all older, all in clothes that looked uncomfortable on them. Former Hells Angels cleaned up and sober, and ready to testify for one of their own. Marlene was there, holding a folder with copies of Sage's drawings, the nurse from the hospital who had treated Eli, Dr. Hammond, even the paramedic who had responded that first day. All of them had come, all of them willing to stand up and say Wade deserved a chance. But across the hallway stood Ms. Carlson, wearing her professional armor, her gray suit and clipboard, an expression that said she had already made up her mind. Next to her stood a couple, mid-50s, well-dressed, kind faces, the Hendersons. The Foster family ready to take Sage and Eli if Wade failed. They looked nice. They probably were nice, but they were not Wade. All rise. The bailiff's voice cut through the murmur of conversation. Everyone stood as Judge Margaret Sullivan entered the courtroom. She was older than Sage expected, maybe 60, gray hair cut short, glasses on a chain around her neck, face that showed she had seen every kind of case and was not easily impressed. Please be seated. The judge settled into her chair behind the bench, looked out at the crowded courtroom. Her eyebrows rose slightly at the number of people present. Case number 2023, FC 8847. In the matter of guardianship for Sage Brennan, age 7, and Eli Brennan, age 6 months. Counsel, please state your names for the record. Gina stood. Gina Whitmore, representing Mr. Wade Cross in his petition for guardianship. A man in an expensive suit stood on the other side. I'm David Richardson, representing the Department of Child and Family Services. Ms. Judith Carlson is our caseworker on this matter. Judge Sullivan looked at her notes. Mr. Richardson, this is an unusual case. The petitioner has an extensive criminal history, multiple arrests, gang affiliation. Yet here we are with a courtroom full of character witnesses. Make your case. Richardson stood, walked to the center of the room. His voice was smooth, practiced. Your Honor, the facts are straightforward. Mr. Wade Cross has 12 documented arrests between 1982 and 1997. Assault, battery, conspiracy, criminal trespass. He was a member of the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club for 25 years. An enforcer, someone whose job was to intimidate and harm others. He paused for effect. While we acknowledge Mr. Cross has not been arrested in 15 years, while we appreciate his assistance in this particular emergency, the safety of 2 vulnerable children cannot be predicated on hope that a violent man has truly reformed. The department recommends placement with the Henderson family, experienced foster parents, clean records, stable home. They can provide everything these children need. Richardson sat down. Judge Sullivan made notes. Ms. Whitmore, your response. Gina stood. She did not walk to the center, just spoke from where she was. Clear, confident. Your Honor, Mr. Cross's past is not in dispute. He made mistakes, serious mistakes, for which he has spent 15 years atoning. But the department's case rests entirely on what Mr. Cross did decades ago. We intend to show who he is now, who he was before the gang years, and most importantly, who he became the moment he chose to help 2 children in desperate need. She gestured to the stack of documents on her table. We have letters from Mr. Cross's commanding officer in the United States Navy, written 50 years ago, describing acts of heroism, compassion, leadership. These letters establish Mr. Cross's fundamental character, his instinct to protect, to serve, to put others first. Gina's voice grew stronger. We have testimony from 8 individuals, all prepared to speak to Mr. Cross's character over the past 15 years. We have medical professionals who witnessed his actions the day he found these children. And most importantly, we have Sage Brennan, a 7-year-old girl who survived 3 months on the streets caring for her infant brother, who demonstrated more courage and resourcefulness than most adults will show in a lifetime. She will tell you in her own words why Wade Cross deserves to be her guardian. The judge looked at Sage, really looked, seeing her for the first time. Very well, Mr. Richardson, call your first witness. Richardson called Ms. Carlson. She took the stand, swore to tell the truth, settled into the witness chair with practiced ease. Ms. Carlson, please describe your involvement in this case. I was assigned as caseworker when Sage and Eli Brennan came to our attention 3 weeks ago. The infant was in critical condition. Severe neglect, dehydration, hypothermia, and Mr. Cross's role. He brought the children to the hospital, provided initial assistance. However, our background check revealed his unsuitability as a guardian. Can you elaborate? Ms. Carlson pulled out a file. Read from it in her professional voice. Robert Wade Cross, 12 arrests, 5 convictions, association with known criminal organizations. While his record has been clean for 15 years, we cannot ignore the severity of his past actions. Children need stability, safety. Mr. Cross's history indicates a propensity for violence that could endanger the minors in question. Has Mr. Cross shown any signs of violence or instability since you began working with him? Ms. Carlson hesitated. A brief pause, but Sage caught it. No, he has been cooperative. But Ms. Carlson's voice grew firmer. Past behavior is the best predictor of future behavior. A man who spent 25 years in a violent criminal organization cannot be trusted with vulnerable children. Gina stood for cross-examination. Her voice was sharp now. Cutting. Ms. Carlson, how many times have you personally observed Mr. Cross with the children? Twice under supervised conditions. And during those observations, did Mr. Cross ever raise his voice? Show anger? Display any threatening behavior? No, but that doesn't mean, yes or no, please, no. Did the children appear frightened of him? The girl shows signs of trauma bonding. That's not what I asked. Did they appear frightened? Ms. Carlson's lips thinned. No. In fact, Sage has repeatedly expressed a desire to remain with Mr. Cross. Correct. Children don't always know what's best for them. Gina walked closer to the witness stand. Ms. Carlson, you mentioned past behavior, predicting future behavior. How long ago were Mr. Cross's last arrests? 15 years. And in those 15 years, has he had any contact with law enforcement? Not that we're aware of. Any complaints, any incidents, anything at all that would indicate he remains violent or unstable? No, so for 15 years, 180 months, Mr. Cross has maintained a clean record, held steady employment, stayed out of trouble. But you believe his behavior from decades ago is more relevant than 15 years of changed behavior. Richardson stood. Objection, argumentative, sustained. Miss Whitmore, please phrase your questions appropriately. Gina nodded. No further questions. Richardson called his next witness, a psychologist who testified about trauma bonding, about how children in crisis situations can attach to their rescuers in unhealthy ways, how those attachments should not be mistaken for genuine family bonds. Gina's cross-examination was brutal. Doctor, have you ever met Sage Brennan? No. Have you reviewed any psychological evaluations of her? No. So your testimony is based entirely on theoretical possibilities rather than actual observation of this child. I'm speaking to general patterns. Patterns that may or may not apply here. The psychologist shifted uncomfortably. Every case is different, but the research suggests. Thank you, doctor. No further questions. By 11, the prosecution had rested. Richardson had built his case on fear, on the possibility of danger, on the weight of Wade's past. Now it was Gina's turn. She called Hank Murphy first. He lumbered to the witness stand, took the oath, sat down carefully in a chair that seemed too small for him. Mr. Murphy, how do you know Wade Cross? Rode with him, back in the day, Hell's Angels. Both of us in forces for about 10 years. The courtroom stirred. Richardson looked satisfied. This was going to help his case, but Gina kept going. When did you leave the gang? 12 years ago. Got married. Wife said it was the life or her. Chose her. Best decision I ever made. And Mr. Cross left 3 years before I did. Just walked away one day. Said he was done hurting. Done being angry. Done with all of it. How did the gang react? Some understood, some didn't. But Wade had put in his time, earned his exit. He left clean. Have you stayed in contact with Mr. Cross since then? Not much. Saw him around town. Knew he was working at my garage part-time, fixing bikes, staying straight. Mr. Murphy, your criminal record is similar to Mr. Cross's. Why should this court believe either of you have truly changed? Hank's expression was steady. Serious. Your Honor, I can't speak for every man who leaves that life. Some go back, some never really leave. But Wade, he's different. When he said he was done, he meant it. I've seen him turn down easy money, walk away from fights, help people who couldn't help him back. That's not the man I rode with. That's someone new, someone better. Richardson stood for cross-examination. Mr. Murphy, isn't it true you and Mr. Cross are covering for each other, protecting old gang secrets? No, you expect us to believe you left a criminal organization and just reformed, like flipping a switch. It wasn't like flipping a switch. It was hard. Took years, took work. But yes, some of us got out, got clean, built different lives. How convenient. Richardson's voice dripped sarcasm. Hank's face hardened. You want to know what's convenient? Being able to judge people from behind a desk when you've never lived their life, never made their mistakes, never had to claw your way back from rock bottom. Wade saved those kids. That's not convenient. That's not strategy. That's who he is now. And if you can't see that, then you're blind. Mr. Murphy, please just answer the questions. I am answering. You're just not listening. Richardson gave up, sat down. Gina called the paramedic who had responded that first day. She described finding Eli, his critical condition. Wade's calm competence in handling the emergency. He knew exactly what to do. Kept the little girl calm. Provided clear information. Stayed until we transported. Most civilians panic in situations like that. Mr. Cross was steady as a rock. Dr. Hammond testified next. Described Eli's recovery, the severity of his condition when he arrived. If that child had been on the streets another day, he would have died. Whoever brought him in saved his life. And that person was Mr. Cross. Yes, Marlene took the stand, testified about 5 years of Wade coming to her diner. Never causing trouble, always respectful, always kind. He's a good man, Your Honor. Whatever he was before. He's good now. 3 more former Hells Angels testified. All had left the life. All had built new lives. All spoke to Wade's character, his transformation, his commitment to staying clean. By 2 in the afternoon, Gina had built a compelling case. But Richardson was not done. Your Honor, I have one more witness. Someone with direct knowledge of Mr. Cross's criminal past. Someone who can speak to exactly what kind of man he really is. Call your witness. The courtroom doors opened. Victor Kane walked in. Sage felt her stomach drop. She had thought Hank and the others had taken care of Victor, had made him understand that threatening Wade was a bad idea. But here he was, thinner than Sage remembered, meaner. His leather vest was worn and stained, his beard unkempt. He looked like everything the prosecution wanted the jury to fear about motorcycle gangs. Victor took the oath, sat down, looked directly at Wade with eyes that held old hatred. Mr. Kane. Richardson's voice was smooth. How do you know Wade Cross? Rode with him for 15 years. Hells Angels. He was an enforcer. I was his partner. Can you describe what that entailed? Victor smiled. It was not a nice smile. We hurt people. That's what enforcers do. Someone doesn't pay what they owe. We hurt them. Someone disrespects the club. We hurt them. Someone needs to be taught a lesson. We're the teachers. And Mr. Cross participated in this violence. Oh yeah, Wade was good at it too. Real good. Cold. Efficient. Never hesitated. The courtroom was silent. Sage could see Wade's hands clenched on the table. Jaw tight. Richardson leaned forward. Mr. Kane, can you describe a specific incident? Something that demonstrates Mr. Cross's character. Victor's smile widened. Kansas City, 1984. There was a guy, owed the club money, a lot of money. Wade and I were sent to collect. The guy tried to run. Wade caught him. Beat him so bad that he was in the hospital for 2 weeks. Broken ribs, fractured skull, internal bleeding. He paused. That's who Wade Cross is. A man who nearly killed someone over money. And you want to give him kids to raise. Richardson looked satisfied. No further questions. Gina stood, walked toward Victor slowly, her expression calm but her eyes sharp. Mr. Kane, when was the last time you were arrested? Victor shifted. Not sure exactly. Let me help you. 3 years ago, assault with a deadly weapon. You served 18 months. That was different. How is it different? I didn't have a choice, but Mr. Cross did have a choice. When he beat that man in Kansas City, Victor's face reddened. Yeah, he chose to do his job. And when did you last see Mr. Cross? About 3 weeks ago. What was the nature of that meeting? Just wanted to talk, catch up. Gina pulled out a document, Your Honor. I'd like to enter into evidence a police report filed 3 weeks ago by Wade Cross, detailing threats made by Victor Kane, including demands for money in exchange for silence about past incidents. Richardson jumped up. Objection, this is the first we're hearing of this. Your Honor. Gina's voice was steel. Mr. Kane approached my client 3 weeks ago, demanded $10,000 to keep quiet about Kansas City. When Mr. Cross refused, Mr. Kane threatened to sabotage these proceedings. Mr. Cross immediately reported the extortion attempt to the police. Is this true, Mr. Kane? Victor's face went pale. He's twisting it. I just wanted what I was owed. You were owed money for silence. That's called blackmail, Mr. Kane. It's not. Gina moved closer. Mr. Kane, isn't it true that you resent Wade Cross for leaving the gang, for getting clean, for building a better life while you continued down the same destructive path? That's not true. Isn't it true that you've been arrested 3 times since Mr. Cross left the life, while he has maintained a clean record? Victor said nothing. Isn't it true that you came here today, not because you care about these children, but because you want to punish Wade Cross for succeeding where you failed? That's not. Victor's voice cracked. He doesn't deserve to just walk away, to pretend he's some kind of hero now. We did the same things, the same violence. But he gets to be redeemed, and I'm still. He stopped, realizing what he had said. No further questions. Gina returned to her seat. Judge Sullivan's voice was ice. Mr. Kane, you are excused. Bailiff, please escort him out. And Mr. Richardson, if you call another witness without proper vetting, I will hold you in contempt. Victor was led from the courtroom. His testimony had backfired completely, had shown exactly what Gina wanted, that Wade had changed, had left that life behind, while others like Victor remained trapped in bitterness and crime. Richardson looked shaken. Your Honor, the prosecution rests. Judge Sullivan looked at her watch. It's nearly 3. We'll take a 15-minute recess. When we return, Ms. Whitmore, you may call your final witness. Everyone stood, filed out. Sage went to the bathroom with Marlene, splashed water on her face, looked at herself in the mirror. You're up next, honey. Marlene's voice was gentle. You ready? Sage dried her face. I have to be. Back in the courtroom, Wade caught her eye, gave her a small nod, trying to look confident, trying to give her strength. But Sage could see he was terrified. This was it. The final testimony. Everything rested on what she said next. All rise. Judge Sullivan returned. Everyone sat. Ms. Whitmore, your final witness. Gina stood. Your Honor, I call Sage Brennan. The courtroom went silent. All eyes turned to Sage. This 7-year-old girl in a blue dress walking toward the witness stand. Her footsteps seemed loud in the quiet. The bailiff helped her climb into the chair. It was too big, her feet dangled. He adjusted a microphone so it was closer to her face. Sage, do you promise to tell the truth? Sage's voice came out smaller than she wanted. Yes, Judge Sullivan leaned forward, spoke gently. Sage, I know this is scary, but I need to hear about what happened. About your brother, about Mr. Cross. Can you do that for me? Sage nodded, cleared her throat. Tried again. Yes, ma'am. Gina approached, her expression kind. Sage, can you tell the judge what happened to your mother? Sage's hands gripped the edge of the witness stand. She died, on the bathroom floor. I found her in the morning. She wasn't breathing. How old were you when that happened? 6. Almost 7. What did you do? Sage's voice got quieter. I took Eli and left. I was scared they would take him away. Take me away. Put us in different homes like before. So I took care of him myself. For how long? 3 months. The courtroom stirred. Judge Sullivan's expression shifted. Something like shock. 3 months, Gina repeated. You were 6 years old and you took care of a baby for 3 months on the streets. Yes. How did you feed him? Begged for money? Bought formula? Sometimes took it from stores when I had to. Where did you sleep? Different places, under bridges, empty buildings, anywhere people wouldn't find us. Were you scared? Sage's eyes filled with tears, but she did not let them fall. All the time. Every night. But I had to keep Eli safe. What happened the day you met Mr. Cross? Eli stopped waking up, stopped drinking. His skin was cold. I knew. Sage's voice broke. I knew that meant really bad, like Mama's friend Crystal. So I remembered what Mama said. What did your mama say? that if something really bad happened, find the motorcycle men. They help when nobody else will. So you found Mr. Cross. I hid Eli under his motorcycle where he'd be safe. Then I ran to him and told him to look. Why did you hide Eli under the motorcycle? Because, Sage struggled to explain, because it was safe there, between the wheels, warm from the engine. And I knew he'd have to see Eli, would have to help. What happened when Mr. Cross found your brother? He called 911 right away, got Marlene to help, stayed with us, took us to the hospital, promised he'd keep us together. Has he kept that promise? Sage looked at Wade, at his weathered face and gray eyes and the hope he was trying to hide. Yes, he comes to see me every day they let him. He visits Eli at the hospital. He got a lawyer. He's fighting for us. Gina picked up the Navy letters, held them up. Sage, do you know what these are? Letters from when Wade was in the Navy, about how he saved people. How did you find them? I went to his apartment, asked to see stuff from before. He showed me a box. The letters were inside. Why did you want to see them? Because. Sage's voice grew stronger. Ms. Carlson said Wade was bad because of his past, but I wanted to know about his past before the bad stuff. Wanted to know who he was before everything else. And what did the letters tell you? That he was always someone who helped people, who saved them, who protected them. That's who he really is. But Mr. Cross did do bad things for many years. How do you know he won't do bad things again? Sage looked at the judge now, speaking directly to her. Because I know what bad people are like. Mama's boyfriends were bad. They yelled, they hit, they took our food money for drugs. Wade's not like that. He's gentle. He reads to me. He makes sure I eat. He doesn't drink, doesn't yell. He just cares. The tears came now. Sage could not stop them. He cares about us, about me and Eli, and nobody else has cared like that. Not ever. The foster families before they were nice, but they didn't really see us. Wade sees us. He promised to keep us together, and he's the only adult who ever kept a promise to me. The courtroom was silent except for Sage's quiet crying. Judge Sullivan pulled off her glasses, wiped her own eyes. Gina's voice was soft. Sage, if the judge says you have to go to a different family, what would you want her to know? Sage reached into her pocket, pulled out the drawing she had made, the one she had been carrying for days. She unfolded it carefully. I made this. It's me and Wade and Eli. We're holding hands. That's what family looks like. Not people who look the same or have the same last name, but people who choose each other, who fight for each other, who keep promises even when it's hard. She held up the drawing so everyone could see. Please don't take this away. Please let Wade be our family. He saved Eli's life. Now I want to save his, because that's what family does. Gina took the drawing, showed it to the judge. No further questions, Your Honor. Richardson stood for cross-examination, but his heart was not in it anymore. Sage could see it in his face. Sage. His voice was gentler than before. You've been very brave, but you're only 7 years old. Don't you think adults know better what's safe for you? Sage met his eyes. Adults put me in foster care before and separated me from Eli. Adults let Mama's boyfriends hurt us. Adults walked past me on the street for 3 months and pretended not to see. Wade didn't pretend. He helped. So no. I don't think adults always know better. Richardson had no response. He sat down. The witness may step down. Sage climbed off the stand, walked back to where Marlene sat. Marlene pulled her close, whispered in her ear, You did so good, honey, so good. Judge Sullivan looked at both lawyers. Does either side have anything else? No, Your Honor. Gina sat down. Richardson shook his head. Then this court will take a 30-minute recess. When I return, I will deliver my ruling. Everyone stood, filed out. Wade caught Sage as she passed. Thank you. His voice was rough. That was. He could not finish. Sage hugged him. This big old biker with his hard face and gentle hands. This stranger who had become family. The 30 minutes felt like 30 hours. Sage sat in the hallway between Marlene and Wade, not talking, just waiting. Gina paced. Hank and the others stood in a group, talking quietly. Miss Carlson and Richardson conferred in a corner. The Hendersons sat on a bench, looking uncomfortable. Finally, the bailiff opened the doors. Judge Sullivan is ready. They filed back in. took their seats. The courtroom felt different now, heavy with anticipation. Judge Sullivan entered. Everyone stood, sat when told. The judge looked out at the assembled crowd, her face unreadable. This has been one of the most unusual cases I've heard in 30 years on the bench. We have a petitioner with an extensive criminal past. We have a 7-year-old girl who survived circumstances that would break most adults. We have a baby who nearly died. And we have the question of what is in these children's best interest. She paused. Mr. Richardson has built his case on fear, on the reasonable concern that a man with Mr. Cross's history might revert to violence. That past behavior predicts future behavior. That we cannot take risks with children's lives. Sage's heart sank. The judge was going to say no, but Judge Sullivan continued. However, Ms. Whitmore has presented compelling evidence of transformation. Letters from 50 years ago showing Mr. Cross's fundamental character. Testimony from multiple witnesses about 15 years of changed behavior. Medical professionals confirming his life-saving actions. And most importantly, the testimony of Sage Brennan herself. The judge looked at Sage. Young lady, I have never in my career heard a child testify with such clarity and courage. You have survived things that should have destroyed you. Instead, they made you stronger, wiser, more capable of recognizing true character than many adults. Judge Sullivan put her glasses back on, looked at her notes. The law is meant to protect children. But sometimes the law is too rigid, too bound by rules that do not account for human complexity, for genuine transformation, for second chances that are earned rather than given. She looked at Wade. Mr. Cross, your past is troubling. Your actions were violent and criminal. But for 15 years, you have maintained a clean record. You have worked steadily, paid your taxes, stayed out of trouble, and when confronted with 2 children in desperate need, you acted without hesitation to save them. Her voice grew firm. The letters from Commander Hayes established that your instinct to protect predates your criminal years. That violence was a choice you made and then later chose to abandon. That is significant. Judge Sullivan picked up Sage's drawing, looked at it. This court recognizes that family is not always defined by blood or by conventional standards. Sometimes family is forged in crisis, in promises kept, in courage shown by all parties. She set the drawing down. Therefore, it is the ruling of this court that temporary guardianship of Sage Brennan and Eli Brennan be granted to Wade Cross for a period of 6 months. During this time, Mr. Cross will submit to monthly check-ins with Child Protective Services, will participate in parenting classes, will maintain stable employment and housing. Any violation of these terms will result in immediate review and potential removal of the children. The gavel came down with a sharp crack. Guardianship granted. For a moment, no one moved. Then chaos. Marlene crying, Hank whooping, the other bikers slapping Wade on the back, Gina smiling wide. Sage ran to Wade. He caught her, lifted her up, held her tight while his shoulders shook. We did it, kid. His voice was thick. We actually did it. You promised, Sage whispered into his shoulder. You kept your promise. Richardson and Ms. Carlson gathered their papers in silence. The Hendersons slipped out quietly. This was not the outcome they had expected, not the outcome the system usually produced, but it was the right outcome. Judge Sullivan spoke again. Mr. Cross, a word. Wade set Sage down, approached the bench. The judge's voice was low, private, but Sage heard it anyway. I'm taking a risk on you, a big risk. Don't make me regret it. Wade's voice was steady. I won't, Your Honor. I swear it. Good. Because that little girl up there, she's special. She's a fighter. And she chose you. That means something. Don't waste it. I won't. Outside the courthouse, the November sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. Sage stood on the steps with Wade's hand on her shoulder and Marlene beside her and the old bikers celebrating in the parking lot. They had won. Against odds. Against the system. Against Wade's past and everyone's doubts. A 7-year-old girl and a 65-year-old biker had become family, had proven that promises mattered, that change was real, that sometimes the people who looked the scariest were the safest place to fall. Can we go see Eli? Sage looked up at Wade. Yeah, kid. Let's go tell your brother he's coming home. 18 months later, Sage stood in the same courtroom, But everything was different now. She was 8.5, taller, stronger, haircut neat, wearing a dress she had picked out herself. Eli sat on Wade's lap, 2 years old now, chubby and healthy, and calling Wade Papa without hesitation. Judge Sullivan smiled from the bench. A real smile this time, not the careful professional expression from before. Well, Sage, it's good to see you again. You look well? Thank you. Mr. Cross, how have the past 18 months been? Wade stood, still awkward in a suit, still uncomfortable with formality, but more confident now. Good, Your Honor. Real good. Sage is doing great in school. Straight A's. Eli's healthy, growing like a weed. We've got a house now. Small, but it's ours. I'm working full-time at Hank's garage. He paused, we're a family. Ms. Carlson. The judge's voice held a note of humor. Your report, Ms. Carlson stood, and to everyone's surprise, she smiled. Your Honor, I was wrong. I admit it. My monthly visits have shown nothing but a loving, stable home. Mr. Cross has exceeded every expectation. The children are thriving. He's completed parenting classes, maintained employment. There have been zero incidents or concerns. I recommend full adoption be granted. Sage felt tears prick her eyes. Ms. Carlson had fought so hard against them, but she had finally seen what Sage knew from the beginning. Then this court is pleased to finalize the adoption. Judge Sullivan's gavel came down again. Eli Cross and Sage Cross, you are now officially and permanently the children of Wade Cross. Congratulations. The courtroom erupted again, but this time it was on pure, uncomplicated joy. Wade held both children, his face wet with tears he was not trying to hide. Sage hugged him back, felt Eli's little hands patting her hair, felt complete in a way she had never felt before. Outside the courthouse, Hank and Marlene and Gina waited, ready to celebrate. But Sage had somewhere else to go first. Wade drove them across town, to Oakwood Elementary, to the classroom where Sage now went to third grade, where she had friends and teachers and a normal life. But today was special. Today Sage was giving a presentation. She walked into the classroom carrying a poster board, set it up at the front, cleared her throat. The other third graders settled into their seats. Some kids from fourth and fifth grade had come too. Teachers lined the back wall. My name is Sage Cross. I'm here to talk about being brave when you're scared. She pointed to a photo on her poster. Her and Eli on the streets, taken by a news photographer months ago. I used to be homeless. My mama died and I took care of my baby brother for 3 months. I was really scared, but I asked for help, and help came. Another photo, Wade holding Eli that first day. This is my dad, he saved us. But the system said he couldn't keep us because of mistakes he made a long time ago. So I had to fight, had to show them he was good now. The classroom was silent, kids leaning forward. I'm telling you this because some of you might be scared too. Might have bad stuff happening at home. Might think nobody will help. But here's what I learned. Being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means asking for help anyway. She pulled out a piece of paper, a phone number printed in big letters. If you need help, if someone's hurting you, if you're scared, call this number. It goes to people who care, people who will listen, people who help me. Sage looked at her teacher, at the principal standing by the door, at the guidance counselor taking notes. You don't have to be alone. You don't have to fix everything yourself. Sometimes asking for help is the bravest thing you can do. She thought about that morning in the parking lot, running toward Wade, screaming look under the bike, taking the biggest risk of her life. And sometimes the people who can help you look scary. Like motorcycle guys. But they're not scary. They're heroes. They saved me. They can save you too. The presentation ended. Kids asked questions. Sage answered honestly. Talked about being hungry, being cold, being terrified Eli would die, but also about finding courage, about Wade's promises, about family being something you build. After school, Wade picked her up, Eli in his car seat in back, babbling happily. How'd it go? Good. 3 kids took the phone number. 2 teachers want to meet you. Wade's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Meet me. They want to know how to recognize kids who need help, how to connect them with people like you, like Hank and the others. Wade was quiet for a moment. I'm not a social worker, kid. I'm just, you're someone who helps. Sage's voice was firm. That's what matters. They drove home. The little house Wade had bought 6 months ago, 3 bedrooms, a yard, a swing set that Eli loved, pictures on the walls, Sage's drawings, family photos, a life built from nothing. Inside, Marlene was cooking dinner. She came over twice a week, sometimes more. Part of the family now. Hank arrived with his wife. Gina showed up with her husband, the house filled with people, with laughter, with the kind of warmth Sage had never known before Mama died. After dinner, Wade tucked Eli into bed, read him a story about a rabbit who got lost and found his way home. Eli fell asleep before the ending. Wade kissed his forehead, turned out the light. He found Sage in her room, doing homework, math problems. She looked up. Done. Want to watch TV? Actually, Wade sat on the edge of her bed. I wanted to talk to you about something. What? You know how you did that presentation today? About being brave, about asking for help. Yeah. There are other kids out there, kids like you were, scared, alone, trying to survive. What if, Wade paused, what if we help them? How? I've been talking to Gina about starting a program, something that teaches kids it's okay to ask for help. That shows them where to find safe people. We could work with schools, shelters, make sure kids know they have options. Would I help? If you want to. Your story matters, Sage. You survived something that should have broken you. Other kids need to know that's possible, that they can survive too. Sage thought about the kids who had taken the phone number, about the ones who were too scared to take it, about all the Sages out there right now, hiding, fighting, trying to keep going. Okay, let's do it. Wade smiled, pulled her into a hug. I'm proud of you, kid. You know that, right? I know. That night, Sage lay in her real bed in a real room in a real house. Eli asleep down the hall, Wade watching TV in the living room. Marlene probably still cleaning the kitchen even though Wade told her to stop. Normal, safe, home. She thought about Mama, about that last good day when Mama had pointed at the motorcycle men and said they help when nobody else will. Mama had been right. Mama had given her the key to survival even while she was dying. Sage closed her eyes, whispered into the darkness. Thank you, Mama. I found them, just like you said. And in the living room, Wade stared at the photo on the wall, the adoption day photo, all three of them smiling. His family, the family he had never expected, never deserved, but had been given anyway. He thought about the Navy letters that Sage had found, about the man he had been at 19 before everything went wrong, about the long journey from hero to criminal to hero again, about a 7-year-old girl running across a parking lot screaming, "Look under the bike," about how sometimes salvation came in the smallest packages, in the bravest voices, in children who refused to give up even when the world had given up on them. Wade picked up his phone, made a call. Hank, it's me, that program we talked about. Sage wants to help, so let's make it real. Let's build something that matters. They talked for an hour, making plans, drawing up ideas, creating a network that would help kids like Sage before they had to spend 3 months on the streets. By midnight, the framework was there. Sage's Shield, they would call it. A program that taught children about safe adults, about asking for help, about recognizing danger, about being brave even when brave felt impossible. Wade hung up, checked on both kids, both sleeping peacefully, both safe, both his. He stood in the doorway of Sage's room, watching her breathe. This little girl who had saved herself and her brother, who had saved Wade too, had given him purpose, had given him redemption, had given him a reason to be better than his past. Outside, the November wind blew cold. Inside, the house was warm, protected, full of love that was hard-won and deeply earned. And somewhere across town, another child went to sleep hungry, scared, alone, not knowing that help existed, that courage could be rewarded, that promises could be kept. But tomorrow, Sage would start teaching them, would start spreading the word that motorcycle men with scary faces and gentle hands were out there, waiting, ready to help when nobody else would. The story that started with a desperate shout in a parking lot had become something bigger, a movement, a mission, a promise that extended beyond one family to every child who needed hope. Wade turned off the lights, went to bed, slept better than he had in decades, knowing that his past had led to this, that his mistakes had taught him how to help others avoid the same ones, that redemption was real and possible and worth fighting for. The end was really just a beginning, the beginning of Sage's shield, the beginning of more children finding help, the beginning of more promises kept. And in her dreams, Sage ran across a parking lot, but this time she was not scared. This time she knew the man with the motorcycle would help. This time she knew she was not alone. This time she knew that asking for help was not weakness, but wisdom. That family was something you built, that heroes came in unexpected forms, that a 7-year-old girl and a 65-year-old biker could change each other's lives completely, that sometimes salvation started with 3 words shouted in desperation. Look under the bike, and everything that came after, everything that mattered, everything worth fighting for, was found.